My ex cheated, so I took revenge without breaking any laws. He cheated, then told everyone I was crazy, and that's why we broke up. I didn't slash tires or post a rant. I took revenge the clean way: receipts, boundaries, and one calm message that made his whole story collapse. Names changed for privacy. Here's what happened. My name is Paige. I'm 28 years old, and I'm from the US mid-sized city where everyone seems connected by 2 degrees of separation, which matters because breakups here don't stay private. I'm writing from a throwaway and changing names because I'm not interested in becoming content in someone else's group chat. This is a story about cheating. But more than that, it's a story about what happens after the part people don't show in movies. The part where the cheater doesn't just betray you. They try to rewrite reality so you're the villain. My ex is Tyler, 30M. We dated for 3 years and lived together for 1. We weren't a perfect couple, but we were stable. Shared rent, shared groceries, shared friends, shared routines. We talked about engagement someday. And yes, I ignored red flags because I wanted to be the relaxed, trusting partner. Tyler is charming, he's social, he remembers people's names, he knows how to apologize in a way that sounds sincere. He's the kind of guy who can be late, forget something important, and still make you feel like you're overreacting for being upset. Looking back, he didn't just cheat on me physically. I'll keep details non-graphic. He cheated emotionally long before that by investing his attention somewhere else while expecting me to keep holding our life together. The first sign was small. A new female friend at work, Sienna. Tyler mentioned her a lot, casually. Sienna thinks you'd love this restaurant. Sienna says I should get into running. Sienna showed me this podcast. It wasn't inherently suspicious, but it was frequent, and when I asked, "Are you too close?" Tyler laughed and said, "You're not jealous, are you?" That line is a trap, because if you say yes, you're insecure. If you say no, you swallow discomfort. So I swallowed it. Then he started staying late at work. And I'm not naive, sometimes people really do work late, but the late nights matched a pattern. Whenever I asked for more connection, he got busy. I planned date nights. He canceled. I tried to talk about the future. He changed the subject. And then came the night that cracked my trust. Tyler fell asleep on the couch with his phone unlocked. I didn't go hunting. But the screen lit up with a message preview. "Last night was fun. Same thing tomorrow?" My stomach dropped. That line doesn't sound like work. I froze, heart pounding, and then did the thing I swore I'd never do. I opened his phone. I know. I crossed a line. I own that. But the truth is, I already felt like I was living with a stranger, and I needed reality. The messages weren't explicit in a graphic way, but they were intimate, plans, flirty jokes. "I miss you." It was enough. Tyler's tone in the thread was different too, more energetic, more engaged than he'd been with me in months. I sat on the couch staring at the phone like it was a weapon. When Tyler woke up, he saw my face and immediately said, "What's wrong?" I held up the phone and said quietly, "Who is this?" Tyler went still. Then he did what he always did when cornered. He tried to take control of the frame. "Why are you on my phone?" he snapped. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it was predictable. "I asked you a question," I said. "Who is this?" Tyler exhaled dramatically. "It's nothing," he said. "It's just flirting. Just flirting." Like my relationship was so secure it could handle betrayal as entertainment. I asked, "Did you sleep with her?" Tyler hesitated half a second too long. Then he said, "It's complicated." Complicated means yes. My hand started shaking. "So you cheated?" I whispered. Tyler's face hardened. "Don't be dramatic," he said. "You've been distant. You've been stressed. You make everything heavy." There it was, blame. He wasn't sorry. He was building a defense. I stood up. "I'm done," I said. Tyler laughed. "You're not done," he said. "Where are you going to go?" I stared at him and realized. He thought I was trapped. He thought our shared lease and shared friends and shared life meant I'd tolerate anything. I packed a bag and left that night. I stayed with my friend Maya, not related to any other story, just a friend. Maya hugged me and said, "I'm proud of you." I didn't feel proud. I felt empty. The next morning, Tyler texted, "Can we talk? You're overreacting." Overreacting. 2 days later, he posted on Instagram a vague story with a sad song. "Sometimes you have to leave toxic situations." Toxic. He was calling me toxic. That was when I understood. The cheating wasn't going to be the worst part. The worst part was going to be the story he told afterward. And I knew if I didn't act smart, I'd lose twice. I'd lose my relationship, and I'd lose my reputation. So I decided my revenge wouldn't be chaos. It would be control, receipts, boundaries, and consequences. And I started with the first move. I said nothing publicly until I had proof organized. Because when someone lies confidently, feelings don't beat them. Facts do. After Tyler posted that toxic situation story, I realized something important. If I stayed quiet, his version would become the default. In our city, default truth travels faster than real truth. People don't call you and ask what happened. They watch stories, absorb vibes, and pick a side based on whoever sounds calmer. Tyler was calm because he wasn't the one betrayed. He was the one managing fallout. So I made rules for myself, rules I could follow, even while emotionally wrecked. No public posts while I'm panicking. Everything in writing. Document, don't argue. Protect my finances and my living situation first. Tell the truth only to people who actually matter and only with receipts. Maya helped me do the practical stuff. She sat with me at her kitchen table while I logged into my accounts and changed passwords. Email, banking, social media, Amazon, anything Tyler might have access to because we'd shared devices and YYFI. Then I did the most boring but powerful thing. I made a timeline. First suspicious mention of Sienna. Mid-September. Late nights increased. October. First message preview. Early November. Confrontation. November 12. Tyler's toxic story. November 14. Writing it down made it real, but it also made it manageable. Emotional chaos becomes easier to handle when it's organized like evidence. I also asked myself, what exactly do I want? Not revenge in a movie sense. Not humiliating him publicly. Not ruining his job. I wanted 3 things. To get out cleanly, lease, finances, property. To stop the narrative that I was toxic. To make sure he couldn't do this again to me through lies. That's it. The first real test came from our mutual friends. Tyler and I share a big friend group. Birthdays, game nights, hiking, trips the works. I was terrified that the minute I spoke, it would become drama and people would label me the unstable one. But then I got a text from our friend Dylan. Hey, just checking in. Tyler said you two are taking space. You okay? Taking space. That was his spin like it was mutual. I replied, I'm okay. Tyler cheated. I'm not sharing details, but I'm stepping away. Dylan responded, wait, cheated? I stared at the screen, heart pounding. This was the moment where I could either retreat or hold my line. I wrote, yes, and he's trying to frame me as toxic. I'm not going to argue publicly, but I have screenshots if needed. Dylan replied, that's messed up. I'm sorry. That message gave me something I hadn't had in days, air. Then Tyler called me. I didn't answer. He texted, are you telling people I cheated? I replied once, I'm telling the truth. Stop contacting me except about logistics. Tyler responded immediately, so you're going to ruin my life. That line is so common, it should be printed on a cheater's starter pack. They betray you, then accuse you of betrayal when you speak. I didn't reply. The next day, Tyler sent a longer message, half apology, half manipulation. I'm sorry you're hurt. I never meant for this to happen. But you've been cold for months and you know it. I felt lonely. I made a mistake. We can work through it if you stop blowing it up. If you stop blowing it up, like the betrayal was a candle flame, and my reaction was the wildfire. I took screenshots and saved them. Then I contacted our landlord because I needed to understand the lease situation. Tyler and I were both on it. Breaking a lease would cost money we didn't have. The landlord said we could transfer the lease to one person if the other moved out, but it would require paperwork and proof of income. Tyler wanted to keep the apartment. Not because he loved it, because it was easier for him if I left quietly. If I left quietly, he could pretend he outgrew me and everyone would move on. So I told him in writing, I will move out if you sign an agreement about the deposit and our shared items. Tyler replied, we can talk about that in person. No, talking in person is where he was strongest. He could cry, charm, twist. In writing, his words had to stand on their own. I said, No in-person discussions. Email only. He called me controlling again. I didn't flinch. Here's where my revenge became real. I stopped trying to be liked by someone who betrayed me. That sounds small, but it's not. It's the pivot point. A few days later, Tyler made a mistake. He texted me a screenshot of a conversation with Sienna, trying to prove he'd ended it. He wrote, "See? It's over. Now can you stop?" I looked at the screenshot and realized he hadn't cropped it properly. At the top of the screen, above the visible chat, was Sienna's previous message. "Are you sure she won't tell people? You said she's weak." Weak. My stomach flipped. Tyler had been discussing me with the woman he cheated with, like I was a problem to manage, like my pain was an obstacle. I screenshotted Tyler's screenshot. Then I wrote back, "Do not contact me again except through email for lease matters." Tyler replied, "Wow, so you're going to play victim." I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded that message to my closest people in the friend group, 3 friends who I trusted not to weaponize it. I didn't send a rant. I sent one line. "I'm not asking you to pick sides. I'm asking you to know the truth so you don't get manipulated." And I attached the weak screenshot. 2 of them replied immediately, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's disgusting." 1 didn't respond, and that told me everything I needed to know. Then Sienna tried to contact me. She DM'd me on Instagram from a private account. "Hey, I'm sorry. Tyler told me you were basically broken up." I stared at the message, feeling my stomach twist again. Of course Tyler told her that. That's what cheaters do. They lie in every direction. I didn't respond to Sienna. I didn't want a conversation with her. I just saved the message. Then Tyler escalated. He posted another story. "When someone wants to destroy you because they can't handle rejection, rejection." I laughed out loud, alone in Maya's apartment, because the audacity was unreal. He cheated and somehow cast himself as the rejected one. But I didn't post a counter story. Instead, I did something more effective. I set one calm boundary, post 1, and then I stopped. I wrote on my own private story, visible only to close friends, "I'm not going to discuss details publicly. We broke up due to infidelity. Please don't engage with rumors." That was it. No name, no screenshots, no essay. And it worked because it was boring. Calm truth is hard to attack. Then Tyler's mom called me. That surprised me. Tyler's mom and I were friendly but not close. She left a voicemail. "Honey, Tyler is devastated. Can you 2 please talk?" I didn't respond. Because Tyler's next move was the one that forced my hand completely. He emailed me a photo of my own engagement ring and wrote, "If you don't stop talking, I'll sell this. You don't deserve it." The ring was mine, a gift, not his leverage. I stared at the email and felt my blood go cold. He wasn't just lying. He was trying to punish. And that's when I realized my clean revenge needed one more step: legal reality. Because if Tyler could threaten property, he could threaten other things. So I made an appointment with a lawyer not to sue him, but to make sure I wasn't about to get trapped in a financial mess. And that lawyer asked me one question that changed the entire plan. "Do you want to win emotionally, or do you want to win legally and socially?" I said, "Both." He said, "Then you stop reacting and start controlling the narrative with proof." And that's exactly what I did next. Because in part 3, I set the trap Tyler never expected. I let him lie, then I confronted the lie in the one place he couldn't charm his way out of it. Our friend group. With receipts. The lawyer I met with wasn't some aggressive TV attorney. He was calm, practical, and honestly bored by drama, which is exactly what I needed. He told me 2 things that stuck. Stop communicating by phone. Writing only. If your ex is threatening property or reputation, assume he will escalate. Prepare. So I did. I made a folder on my computer labeled Tyler Timeline. I saved everything. The first message preview. Tyler's "It's complicated." His toxic posts, screenshots. The weak message from Sienna. Sienna's DM claiming Tyler said we were basically broken up. The email threatening to sell my ring. Lease conversations. Photos of shared property in the apartment. I also started using a simple rule: 1 response maximum per issue. No back and forth. No emotional paragraphs. Then I scheduled a time with the landlord for a lease transfer appointment because I wanted out of the apartment. Not because I lost, but because I didn't want my home to be the battlefield. Tyler agreed to take the lease if I signed my portion over. Great, but he tried to attach conditions. He emailed, "If you sign over the lease, I'll give you your deposit back. But you need to stop telling people I cheated." There it was. He wanted silence as payment. I replied, "My silence is not for sale. Deposit will be handled according to the lease agreement." Then I stopped replying. Tyler panicked because he wasn't used to me refusing to negotiate emotionally. So he did what he always did. He tried to control the room. He contacted our friend group. I found out because Maya showed me a group chat screenshot from our mutual friend Kelly. Tyler wrote, "Just so everyone knows, Paige is going through something mentally. I'm not going to trash her, but I'd appreciate it if you don't engage. She's making up stuff because she can't handle me moving on." My hands went cold. He wasn't just calling me toxic, he was implying I was unstable. That kind of rumor can follow you in a small community like a stain. Maya looked at me. "Do you want to respond?" she asked. I took a breath. "Not in that chat," I said. Because public arguments are what Tyler wanted. If I got emotional, he'd screenshot it and use it as proof I was crazy. Instead, I asked Kelly if she could host a small get-together, just the core friends. In person, no group chat distortions. Kelly hesitated. "Isn't that intense?" I said, "I don't want drama. I want clarity." So we planned it for Friday night at Kelly's. 5 friends, Kelly, Dylan, Liz, Mark, and one more friend, Sophie. People who actually mattered to me, not the whole extended social web. Tyler wasn't invited. I didn't tell him about it. Because this wasn't a debate, it was an evidence briefing. Friday came. I was shaking the whole drive there. Not because I doubted my truth, but because I knew this was the moment where my social world would either hold me or drop me. When I walked in, everyone had that careful expression people wear when they don't know what they're allowed to say. Kelly offered me water. Dylan said, "You okay?" I sat down and said, "I'm going to be direct. Tyler cheated. He's telling people I'm unstable. I'm not here to drag him. I'm here to stop the lie." Sophie frowned. "He said you were exaggerating." "I know," I said. Then I pulled out my phone and said, "I have screenshots." I showed them the most damning, simplest ones. Tyler, to me, it's complicated. Tyler's screenshot showing Sienna saying, "You said she's weak." Tyler's email threatening to sell my ring if I didn't stop talking. Sienna's DM, "Tyler told me you were basically broken up." The room went silent. Not dramatic silence, processing silence. Then, Mark said quietly, "That's disgusting." Sophie looked pale. "He threatened your ring?" she whispered. I nodded. Kelly exhaled. "Why would he say you're unstable?" she asked. I said, "Because if I'm unstable, then he's not the bad guy." Dylan shook his head slowly. "He's been telling people you're crazy because you got rejected," he said. "But he cheated. That's not rejection." Liz said, "This is textbook." I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired. Because the part of me that loved these people hated putting them in this position. But I also refused to be sacrificed so Tyler could keep his reputation clean. Then Sophie asked, "What do you want from us?" I took a breath. "I want 2 things," I said. 1. Don't spread his narrative. 2. Don't carry messages between us. Everyone nodded. Then Kelly said, "Should we confront him?" And this is where my revenge choice mattered. I could have said yes and watched them dogpile him. It would have felt good. For a second. But I said, "No." I replied, "I don't want a mob. I want boundaries." I continued calm. "If he asks you why, you can say, 'We saw the messages. Stop lying. That's it.'" That was my revenge, removing his ability to use my friends as his audience. And it worked faster than I expected. Because Tyler noticed immediately. The next day, he texted me, "Why is everyone being cold to me?" I didn't reply. He called. I didn't answer. Then he emailed, "Did you show them private messages? That's a violation." I replied once, "You publicly claimed I was unstable. I corrected misinformation. Do not contact me outside of lease logistics." Tyler responded, "You're ruining my life." I didn't answer. Then the real twist happened. Sienna messaged me again. Not to apologize. To warn me. She wrote, "Tyler is telling people you hacked his email. I don't think you did, but he's saying it." I stared at the message, blood cold. Hacked his email? That accusation wasn't just social, it was legal sounding, dangerous. Tyler was escalating from "she's crazy" to "she's criminal." I sent that message to my lawyer immediately. My lawyer replied, "Do not engage, document. If he makes public accusations, we respond through counsel." That night, Tyler posted a story. "When your ex violates your privacy and then plays victim." He still didn't say hacked, but he was building the implication. And then he did the dumbest thing possible. He sent me another email, angry, long, and careless. In it he wrote, "I wouldn't have had to talk to Sienna if you weren't impossible to live with." Wouldn't have had to talk to Sienna. He just admitted contact, in writing, while trying to deny wrongdoing. I screenshotted the email and forwarded it to the lawyer. And the lawyer said, "Great." That's an admission. The next step was the lease meeting at the landlord's office. I showed up with documents and a calm face. Tyler showed up looking angry but trying to look reasonable. The landlord asked, "So you're separating?" Tyler smiled politely and said, "Yeah, Paige is having a hard time." I looked at the landlord and said, calmly, "We're separating due to infidelity. I have documentation if needed, but I won't involve you." Tyler's smile twitched. The landlord didn't care about the drama. He cared about signatures. We signed the transfer. I got my portion of the deposit back via written agreement. I removed my name from utilities. That was another part of my revenge. I didn't just leave emotionally. I left structurally. Tyler lost access to me. Then, 1 week later, I heard the final piece of karma through the friend network. Sienna dumped him. Apparently, she realized Tyler was a liar who threw women under the bus when things got uncomfortable. She didn't want to be the next crazy ex. Tyler texted me at midnight. "She left. Are you happy?" I stared at the screen and felt nothing. Because revenge isn't happiness. It's closure. And I finally had it. But there was still one loose end. Tyler still had my engagement ring photo and some shared items, and he was still trying to paint me as unstable online. So I made one last move, quiet, clean, and final. After the lease transfer, something strange happened. My nervous system started to calm down. Not because the betrayal hurt less, but because I wasn't trapped in the same physical space as Tyler anymore. I wasn't waking up wondering what mood he'd be in. I wasn't hearing his keys. I wasn't absorbing his energy. Distance is medicine when the relationship was poison. But Tyler wasn't done trying to control the story. Now that he couldn't control me directly, he tried to control how others saw me. He started posting these vague abuse-coded messages, like, "Some people weaponize tears. If you've ever dated a narcissist, protect your peace." He never said my name, but the timing made it obvious. Friends would DM me. "Is that about you?" I didn't respond. I didn't repost. I didn't argue. I wanted to, but I didn't. Because my lawyer said something, I wrote on a sticky note and put on my fridge, "Don't fight on his battlefield." Instead, I focused on the one thing Tyler still had leverage over, my stuff. He still had a few items that were mine, sentimental things, documents in a drawer, a bracelet from my grandmother, and the ring he had threatened to sell. I didn't want the ring for romance. I wanted it because it was mine and because I refused to let him keep trophies. So I handled it like a business transaction. I emailed Tyler. Not texted, email only. "Please confirm a date. Time for me to pick up the following items. If you do not respond within 48 hours, I will arrange a police escort for retrieval." I didn't want police, but I also didn't want to show up alone, and I didn't want him to trap me in another emotional conversation. Tyler replied within an hour because threats to his image work better than emotional pleas. "You're insane," he wrote. "Stop threatening me." I replied, "It's not a threat, it's a safety measure. Choose a time." He wrote, "Fine, Sunday at 2. Sunday came. Maya drove me. Yes, friend Maya, not the holiday. She sat in the car while I went inside. I kept my phone recording audio in my pocket not to post, just to protect myself in case he accused me of something. Tyler opened the door wearing a calm face like he was auditioning. "Wow," he said, "you brought a witness." I walked past him and said, "I'm here for my items." Tyler leaned against the wall and said, "You really blew up our relationship." I didn't engage. I walked to the bedroom and started collecting my things. Tyler followed, trying to force conversation like he could re-hook me emotionally. "You know you're not innocent," he said. "You invaded my privacy." I turned and said calmly, "You cheated. I'm not debating ethics with you." Tyler scoffed. "You're obsessed," he said. I ignored him and kept packing. Then I opened the drawer where I knew my grandmother's bracelet should be. It wasn't there. My stomach dropped. I checked again. Then checked the other drawers. Nothing. I looked at Tyler. "Where is the bracelet?" I asked. Tyler smiled slightly. "What bracelet?" My heart started pounding. "My grandmother's bracelet," I repeated. "It was in this drawer." Tyler shrugged. "Maybe you lost it." I stared at him. "Don't lie." Tyler's eyes flashed. "Don't accuse me," he snapped. I pulled out my phone and opened a photo from months ago, an old photo I'd taken of the bracelet because it had a small engraving. I had also thankfully texted that photo to Maya back then when I was excited about getting it repaired. I showed Tyler and said, "It existed. It was here." Tyler's face didn't change much, but his tone did. "Maybe Sienna took it," he said quickly. The way he threw Sienna under the bus made my stomach turn. I took a slow breath. "Then I'll file a report," I said. Calmly. Tyler laughed. "Over a bracelet?" "It's not about the bracelet," I said. "It's about you thinking you can take things from me." That line landed because Tyler's smile faltered. Then he reached into his closet and pulled out a small box. He tossed it onto the bed. Inside was my bracelet. He had it. He wanted me to panic and beg, and then he wanted to give it back so he could feel powerful. I felt my whole body go cold with disgust. I picked up the bracelet, put it in my bag, and said, "Thanks." Tyler's face twisted. "That's it?" he snapped. "No tears? No apology?" I looked at him and said something I hadn't planned, but it was true. "You're not the main character in my life anymore." Tyler blinked like he didn't understand the sentence. Then he said, venomous, "You'll regret this. Everyone thinks you're crazy." I didn't argue. I just said, "Okay." And I walked out. That's when Tyler did something so predictable it almost made me laugh. He followed me outside and shouted loud enough for neighbors to hear, "Tell them how you went through my phone. Tell them how you're stalking me." Maya was already recording from the car. Tyler froze when he saw her phone pointed at him. He immediately stepped back like the camera was a weapon. Maya said calmly, "Go inside, Tyler." Tyler hissed, "You people are insane." Then he slammed the door. We drove away, and I felt this strange calm in my chest. Because cameras don't lie. And Tyler hates anything that can't be twisted. That night, I got a text from Kelly. "Tyler called me saying you showed up with police threats and that you stole something." I sent Kelly one sentence. "I retrieved my own property. He had it hidden." Kelly replied, "He's spiraling." Then Dylan texted, "He told everyone Sienna cheated on him." Of course he did. If Tyler can't be the hero, he'll be the victim. If he can't be the victim, he'll make everyone else the villain. Here's where the revenge question gets complicated. I realized I didn't need to do anything dramatic. Tyler was destroying his own reputation by being himself. All I had to do was not rescue him from consequences. A week later, Tyler tried one last time to pull me back in. He emailed, "I miss you. We can start over." Start over. Like betrayal is a reset button. I replied with the final message I ever sent him. "Do not contact me again unless it's through legal channels. Any further contact will be documented." Then I blocked his email too. And something amazing happened. Silence. Not the tense silence of waiting for the next attack. Real silence. No new rumors. No new messages. Just life. I started therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I didn't want to carry Tyler's mess into my future relationships. My therapist said, "Your revenge is your boundary." That line stuck. But even with all that, I still had one lingering fear, that people would believe Tyler's version. So I did one final surgical thing, not a public blast, not a rant. I wrote a short message to the friend group, not everyone, just the people I cared about. "Hey, I'm stepping away from any discussion about Tyler. We broke up due to infidelity. I'm not interested in drama. If you hear claims that I'm unstable or criminal, please know they're false. I have documentation and will protect myself if needed. I love you all and hope we can move forward. I didn't attach screenshots. I didn't ask them to hate him. I just placed the truth like a boundary stone. Most people replied with support. A couple didn't reply, and I took that as information. And for the first time since the betrayal, I felt like I wasn't trapped in his narrative anymore. Because revenge isn't about humiliating someone. It's about refusing to be rewritten. Part 5 is where I answer the Aita question honestly, because even though my revenge was clean, I still crossed one line. I did go through his phone, and I did show receipts. So, am I the villain? Or did I just stop protecting a liar? It's been a few months now. The adrenaline is gone, which means the story feels different in my body. When you're in the middle of betrayal, everything is fire, anger, panic, obsession, shame, grief all at once. You react like you're fighting for oxygen. When time passes, you start seeing what really happened underneath the drama. Tyler cheated on me, that's the headline. But the deeper injury was this. He tried to keep cheating and keep my stability. When he couldn't, he tried to keep my stability by destroying my credibility. He wanted me to be quiet, confused, and ashamed because those are the conditions that let him walk away clean. And my revenge, if you want to call it that, was refusing those conditions. I didn't slash tires. I didn't dox him. I didn't contact his boss. I didn't post a slideshow on social media. I didn't harass Sienna. I did 3 things. I documented. I told the truth calmly to the people who mattered. I removed access emotionally, financially, socially. And the wild part is, that was enough. Because Tyler's biggest weapon wasn't strength. It was narrative. He survived by making other people doubt themselves. Once I refused to doubt myself, his power dropped. Here's what happened to Tyler after everything settled. The friend group stopped inviting him to core hangouts, not because we canceled him, but because people don't like being around someone who lies and weaponizes mental health language. Sienna disappeared from the picture. Some people say she left because Tyler started accusing her of cheating too. I don't know. I don't care. Tyler started dating someone new quickly and posted soft launch photos like nothing happened. At first that stung because it felt unfair that he could betray and move on. Then I realized his moving on wasn't growth, it was avoidance. I started therapy, I rebuilt routines, I got my own apartment and made it my new sheets, new plants, new furniture where no one had shouted or lied. I also learned something about myself. I had been trained to think being nice was the same as being safe. It isn't. Being safe sometimes looks like blocking people, refusing closure talks, keeping receipts, leaving situations that don't respect you. And yes, I still wrestle with the one part that makes me feel guilty. I opened his phone. If I'm being honest, I hate that I did that. Not because it wasn't effective, it was, but because it made me feel like someone I don't want to be. My therapist asked me, "Would you do it again?" I thought about it and said, I hope I never have to. Because ideally, I'd leave the second I saw enough to know the truth, without needing to gather proof like a prosecutor. But in reality, I know why I did it. Tyler was already the type of man who would lie, deny, and make me the villain. Without proof, he would have rewritten the breakup as, Paige went crazy. And I've seen that happen to other women. People believe the calmer liar over the emotional truth teller. So I chose evidence over emotion. And it protected me. Now, the revenge question. If you asked me at week 1, I would have said revenge means making him feel pain. Now I think revenge, real revenge, means refusing to let his choices damage your future. Because Tyler didn't just cheat, he tried to teach me a lesson, that speaking up would cost me community. My revenge was proving him wrong. Here's what I did that I feel good about. I didn't recruit a mob, I didn't ask friends to attack him. I corrected misinformation with minimal facts. I didn't post screenshots publicly where it could become a forever war. I didn't contact Sienna's workplace or family. I didn't do anything illegal or humiliating for entertainment. I just stopped protecting him. And that's the part people underestimate. A lot of cheaters survive because their partners protect them even while leaving. They keep secrets. They say it just didn't work out. They preserve the cheater's reputation because they don't want to look bitter. I did not preserve Tyler's reputation. Not with a rant, with the truth. And yes, that felt like revenge. But it also felt like dignity. So, Aita? Aita for telling mutual friends Tyler cheated and showing receipts after he publicly implied I was toxic and unstable? Some people will say, you should have stayed private. But the moment Tyler made it public by posting toxic situations and telling friends I was unstable, he made it a reputation issue. When someone lies about you publicly, correcting it isn't revenge. It's self-defense. Aita for threatening a police escort to retrieve my property? No, because he hid my grandmother's bracelet and tried to use it as leverage. That's not a misunderstanding, that's control. Aita for going through his phone? That's the only part where I can't give myself a clean answer. I regret it because it violates the kind of partner I want to be. But I also know that without that evidence, he would have painted me as insane and gotten away with it socially, at least. And I refuse to pretend that social outcomes don't matter. They do. They affect your support system, your safety, and your mental health after a breakup. So if you're asking, how do you take revenge on someone who cheated? My answer now is, you take revenge by refusing to be rewritten. You keep your hands clean. You keep receipts. You keep boundaries. You keep moving. And you let their character do the damage. Because eventually, it always does. That's my final update. I'm okay. Not magically healed, but okay. And Tyler? He's still Tyler, which is punishment enough. So, was I wrong for showing receipts after he cheated and lied about me? What would you do? If you want more Reddit-style long stories like this, subscribe.